democracy. Tinubu gave the charge at the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day Gala and Award Night held in Abuja. He was represented by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris. Tinubu reaffirmed his administration's commitment to supporting the military to secure lasting peace and stability across the country. He said that the welfare of troops was inseparable from national security, assuring personnel of improved equipment, enhanced training and better living conditions. Tinubu stressed that his government would continue to match their sacrifices with concrete support. In the meantime, the federal government has conferred various honors on senior officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army in recognition of gallantry, sacrifice, innovation, and outstanding contributions to national security. Among the recipients is the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Waidi Shaibu, who received the Service and Sacrifice Award for exemplifying selfless service and providing decisive leadership in counter-insurgency and internal security operations across the country. Also, former Chief of Army Staff, retired Lieutenant General Tuku Brutai, received the Service and Sacrifice Award under the Legacy Award category for his reforms and expansion of operational capacity during his tenure. Brutai was also recognized for his stint in the diplomatic service as Nigeria's ambassador to the Republic of Benin, among others. The Joint Health Sector Unions and Assembly of Healthcare Professionals, JOESHU, has insisted on continuing its indefinite national strike in spite of the federal government's no work, no pay policy. The National Secretary of the Union, Martin Egbanubi, said that the decision followed resolutions reached by the national leadership at an emergency virtual meeting held to review developments surrounding the industrial action. He noted that the strike stemmed from the long-standing demand for the implementation of the adjusted, consolidated health salary structure and other welfare-related issues. Egbanubi described the no work, no pay policy as a common tool used to frustrate workers when government delays the resolution of labor disputes. He urged members not to be discouraged and called for sustained solidarity and commitment to the struggle. Yakubu Mohammed, a co-founder of Newswatch magazine and its former deputy chief executive officer, has died at the age of 75. He was reported to have been battling an undisclosed ailment before his death. His death comes barely 2 months after the passing of his longtime colleague and fellow Newswatch co-founder Dan Agbeshi, who died after a prolonged illness on November 17 last year. In October 2025, Mohammed published his memoir Beyond Expectation, which chronicled the history of Newswatch and offered personal insight into the magazine's formative years. The book revisited major moments in the publication's journey, including the controversy surrounding the 1986 assassination of founding editor-in-chief Dele Giwa and the subsequent struggle for control of the influential magazine. Mohammed, alongside Agbeshi, Ray Eku and Dele Giwa, founded Newswatch in 1984, establishing it as a leading voice in investigative journalism during Nigeria's military era. His death marks another significant loss to the magazine's founding generation. This is the broadcasting service of Ekiti State. For news, information, or comments, join our live streaming on Facebook page at Ekiti State Radio. You can also like and share our page. The administration of United States President Donald Trump will end temporary deportation protections and work permit for some Somali nationals in the U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said that the Trump administration was ending temporary protected status, which shields migrants from deportation to countries where it is deemed unsafe to return, and grants temporary work authorization for Somalis living in the U.S. The decision, which is expected to affect about 1,100 people, is likely to face legal challenges. The Somali community has become a frequent target of the Trump administration. The U.S. president has called Somalis garbage and depicted them as criminals. Trump has threatened to strip any naturalized Somali or foreign-born person of the U.S. citizenship if they are convicted of fraud, as he continued his attacks on the Somali community. Senators in the United States have introduced a bill aimed at preventing President Donald Trump from seizing NATO territory, including the self-governing Danish island of Greenland. The bipartisan NATO Unity Protection Act would bar the Department of Defense and Department of State from using funds to blockade, occupy, annex or otherwise assert control over the territory of any NATO member state. The bill, authored by Democrats Jeanne Shaheen and Republican Lisa Murkowski, comes amid growing concerns over Trump's repeated insistence that Greenland, a semi-autonomous territory of Denmark, must be brought under Washington's control, using force if necessary. The bill sends a clear message that recent rhetoric around Greenland deeply undermines America's own national security interests and faces bipartisan opposition in Congress. About 22 people have been killed after a construction crane fell on a passenger train in northeast Thailand. The accident took place in the northeast of Bangkok. The train was heading from the Thai capital to Iran province. Initial reports said there were only 4 fatalities. Iraq's caretaker Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, whose bloc won the largest share of seats in November's parliamentary elections, has stepped aside to clear the field for a rival, former Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. The official is a senior leader in All Sudanese Reconstruction and Development Coalition, and a government official spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly about the matter. All Sudanese Reconstruction and Development Coalition won 46 seats in the 329-seat parliament, while the coalition led by al-Maliki won 30 seats. Both men had sought the backing of the Coordination Framework, a coalition of Iran-backed Shiite parties that brought al-Sudani to power in 2022. The 2 Iraqi officials said the Coordination Framework was unable to choose between the top contenders and left it to the candidates themselves to decide. A meeting between al-Sudani and al-Maliki agreed that al-Sudani would step aside in favor of al-Maliki. To sport, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will tonight clash with the host nation, the Atlas Lions of Morocco, in the semi-finals of the ongoing African Cup of Nations. The game will kick off at 9 this evening. Egypt and Senegal will meet in the first semi-final match at 5 in the evening. And back home, the Nigerian Premier Football League will resume today from break for the match day 20. In some of the games to be played, 3SC of Ibadan will host Enyimba of Aba, while Crava United will welcome Bendel Insurance of Benin to the Rashidi Yekini Stadium in Ilorin. In Ikenne, Remo Stars will meet Ikorodu City of Lagos. Ekanami Warriors of Maiduguri will play against Bayelsa United of Yenagoa. Tonight, Chelsea will host Arsenal in the first leg of the English Carling Cup at the Stamford Bridge. Manchester City defeated Newcastle United 2-0 in the first leg of the English Carling Cup at the St James Park. Manchester City will host Newcastle United in the second leg next week. To end the world news, here again are the main points. We told you that President Bola Tinubu has charged the armed forces to remain steadfast in discipline, loyalty and unity. You heard that JOSU has vowed to continue its strike despite no work, no rule of the federal government. It was in the bulletin the US has promised to end deportation protection for Somalis. Finally, you were informed that Iraq's Prime Minister has stepped aside for rival in past election. Before we go, we leave you with this message. Work for the peace and progress of the country. That's the world news as put together by the production team and edited by Abiodun Omodara. I am Ayonfe Oluwa Olayemi. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon.